have been difficult in terms of lockdown and restrictions, but was it a good year for vineyards across South Africa? Mr. Vries told us more.
2020 is going to go down in history as a great year for the South African industry. We had really good flowering conditions last year, and leading into this year, we had a better situation with water after an extensive drought. So we were far more prepared going into this vintage, and also with a greater health and vigor in our vineyards. Also, the drought enabled farmers to really zone in on their top performing blocks and really focus, sometimes pulling suboptimal blocks and really allowing the industry to pivot and focus on better production practices. 2020, I believe the quality to be exceptional, and most of the industry was able to bring in their harvest before we had strict lockdown conditions. Unfortunately, it was late in March that some producers were told to stop producing, no harvesting for some days while our industry body was negotiating with the government. And of course, we relaxed some of the rules and allowed us to finish our harvest. But then unfortunately, they then placed further restrictions on the sale of liquor. So it's been a difficult vintage for producers to keep afloat, but the vintage itself went incredibly well. So we're quite excited about what we have in our cellars at this stage. Most producers producing red wines, this is right in the middle of their season. They're only midway through harvesting their Merlot, Cabernet, red varieties that need longer hang time. So it was tough, but I believe in the vintage. It's really going to be a great one to look for.
Chris de Vries then went on to talk a little bit about how the Villafonte winery came into being, the rich history behind it, varietals, production and long-term vision.
The name Villafonte, and then also texture on the label. So anyone that has a bottle with them, if you go ahead and touch the label, it's reminiscent of gravel. So Villafonte is all about the soil on the property that we have. It's the name of the most ancient documented soil, which we're fortunate to have on our estate vineyard. There are three partners that started the Villafonte wine. Two from California, a husband and wife team, Drs. Phil Priest, who's a doctor of viticulture, and his wife, Zelma Lung, also now a doctor. Both of them are experts in their field and highly regarded as some of the most well-known winemakers in the world. And they came to South Africa first on invitation. After the apartheid sanctions were lifted, the industry needed to be exposed to what was going on in the greater world. So they sought out some experts from elsewhere, and Zelma Long judged on a wine competition, and then based on her review of these wines was asked to give critical input. She and her husband fell in love with the country on their first visit. Later on, they were asked to